Roki Sasaki, obviously, I think we touched on it last week. It's no secret, and the Mariners have made it not a secret that they're going to make some push for the Japanese right-hander. Um, and so much of the push that I've read about is that, it's some of the more obvious things, right? So they develop the pitching. You look at the four other guys in the rotation that aren't Luis Castillo. They talked about, need to get wood for this. They talk about being relatively healthy, with their starting pitchers. They talk about having Pete Woodworth and Trent Blank back. That's something else that's big. We just talked about having the coaching staff back. Keeping them healthy, talking about the pitching culture throughout the organization. But it's interesting with Sasaki, some of the things that have been talked about, from the guys coming over from the NPB. I'm sure you've seen some reports, Britt. He doesn't necessarily prioritize the top market. Some saying that not having him in a Los Angeles or a New York, or he might prefer to do that to begin with and have a softer landing, so to say.
Yeah.
Right. And there's also the report that he won't sign until mid-January when the international signing pool bonus, I think, kicks in. I think that's what that is. So it's very interesting. Because it's also a different process than what Yoshinobu Yamamoto had, where he came in and he got that mega deal. He can't earn that sort of contract.
Nope.
Puts him in the signing. He puts them like every team can afford him, which is
Yeah.
interesting. And it's if you're the Mariners, that gives you you're smiling at that. The Mariners have 7.5 million in bonus pool money for 2025, which is tied for the most that any club has available, which is nice.
Hmm.
But the one thing that was the biggest to me was that Ichiro is expected to be a part of that, and they're going to have him be like a centerpiece in this. Jerry DePoto, and I know we can only take so much from what Jerry says, said that when he was officially posted internally, our feeling was that we were ready for it. I'll look into it more here, but what do you think about this? Because the
Yeah.
the guy this is going to be his agent hasn't met with him to discuss his priorities yet, which I find fascinating.
I don't
I'm,
know how much I believe that either. That could be
so
some
yeah,
agent speak there. After we talked last week, I went just to learn a little bit about him, and it is pretty fascinating, his story. I was thinking, why is he coming over at such a young age? And the it sounds like the reasoning for him potentially looking at a smaller market is he's had some trouble with the media in Japan and just
mm,
really being um, I don't know if it's heavily criticized, but I think critiqued for wanting to come over at a young age. It sounds like he's gone through some pretty tough personal stuff, losing family members that were really hard for him, and made him want a change of scenery. And the media gave him a pretty hard time for wanting a change of scenery. So I thought it was interesting. His agent mentioned the media when he spoke at the winter meetings, and that would be something he's looking at. Smaller market, quote unquote, softer landing place. Um, things that do scream Seattle. And I think it's great that they have Ichiro involved. That's fantastic. We have also kind of heard this before. So this isn't the first time we've heard a pitch like this being put together. I don't know how realistic the odds are for the Mariners,
yeah,
but I liked what I heard from his agent in their favor. And whether or not he was just trying to stoke the fires a little bit, we can't be sure. But he certainly has a very fascinating story
mhm.
and fascinating reasoning for coming over at a younger age before he can really make those big bucks.
Yeah, and first of all, you reference a different pitch, and I remember other folks talking about how they remember hearing this sort of thing, and you know, it won't. I won't get in trouble for this. I don't care. I was told privately that with I think who the other guy you're talking about with Shohei is
Yeah.
that he fully toured T-Mobile Park. He wanted to sign here, but the Mariners weren't ready to let him pitch here, which was very fascinating. They didn't want to let him do both at the time. Obviously, I'm sure they feel stupid about that. And I've had that double checked a few times over the course of the last few years, um, which is a head scratcher to me, but also is a lot of this organization, right? Um, but yeah, no, I don't know. I so much of the attention I think is to more of the certainty, at least with this offseason. In my mind, it's like, I know what Luis Castillo has done. I
Hmm.
know that, they're open to talking to him, right? With this one, and it's even talked about in the Jude report here, it's like there's this mystery around Sasaki. Wolf said that he hasn't sat down fully to discuss what he prioritizes. They plan on doing that. It said later this week, so that's already happened by now. He won't sign until January 15th. Um, but, you know, something that, and I know I saw this also on a Mets account, but what was listed, um, apparently he asked Wolf questions about the weather, which, hmm. Comfortability, which is kind of an interesting, that one, I don't know how you really quantify that one.
Yeah.
And then pitching development. And if you want to talk about pitching development, I saw it on the Mets thing because this Mets account was like, "Oh, we're the best in doing that," and I'm like, "I don't know about you, buddy," but again, the Mets have done a great job working with some of their pitchers that have signed there. I mean, Sean
Yeah.
Manaea had a great late season run after they tweaked some of his slot issues, I believe it was.
Sevy really had a bounce back too.
Sevy, yeah. So, sure, with working with some veteran guys, yes. We want to talk about the word development that's,
Yeah.
and this guy's 23, like you were saying. So, I mean, he would kind of, at least age-wise, slot in with with the two younger parts of the rotation. I don't think they'd click like that friendship-wise, but I think those are two guys that would make him feel pretty welcome, you
Everyone
know.
gets along with Bryce Miller though. Let's
Yeah.
be real.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of the interactions in the clubhouse now. Bryce Miller's gonna more props, more props. Hold on. Bryce Miller's
Oh,
gonna walk in and he's gonna
yes.
talk to Roki,
So good. So
come on,
good.
fucking I used the F word again.
We got to work on your Bryce Miller impression.
What? I don't oh God, I've been away from the ballpark for so long I forgot the things he would say. He always did walk real funny though. He'd walk, he'd have the little meander. He would
Yeah.
walk like that. I'm not making
It's
that up.
it's a real cowboy walk.
Oh God. But yeah, no, you want to talk about guys that would make him feel well. I mean, even like you look at the other guy, George is still I don't know what he looks like in the clubhouse, like when we're not allowed in there. George is, George Kirby. And Britt and I kind of talked about this a little bit. He did seem to be a little more relaxed and
Yeah.
maybe personable
Yeah.
throughout the course of the year, whether that's signing more autographs or what. But Logan Gilbert, I'm sure, would do more than enough to make him feel welcome here. So you talk about maybe that leans into the comfortability side. But pitching development, at least, I think this is the arguably the best situation Sasaki could pick from. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's like my dark horse. And I would really love to see that. That would be really cool. We've been so lucky to talk about and cover great pitching the last few years. And my main point, and I guess we'll wrap with that, is I don't remember any smoke about the Mariners and Robbie Ray, and that just kind of happened.
Yes.
Stuff just sort of happens. So I don't know. I'm not going to count the Mariners out. I know
No.
the report is industry sources consider the Mariners a long shot, but again, I didn't hear. I almost said it again. I didn't hear anything about Robbie and the Mariners. And obviously that was it ended. His Mariners tenure ended in a weird trade, but I mean he was a workhorse in that year that he had. So
they
I don't
always
know.
play their cards close to the chest. They have historically, and I feel like every off season, or at least the last few off seasons, we spend a lot of time talking about rumors and then a transaction happens that we didn't even talk about, or it wasn't even on anyone's radar. So I certainly would welcome that at this point, because that would just mean a transaction occurred.
Yes, we would love to document. I even have new templates made, Britt. I have new templates for signings. They're gonna
Gotta
sit
use
there and
them.
collect dust.
Gotta
You
use
know, I
them.
don't want to use them for Neftali Felez, who they signed, I guess, to a minor league deal. Like, no, no, please. So, unless you've got anything else, that'll wrap up our second edition ever of Mariner Mondays, as we're here smack in the middle of the month of December.
Looking forward to what the next few weeks have to bring for us. Hey, Jerry Dipoto historically has done something on Christmas, around Christmas, either I think Thanksgiving Eve or Christmas Eve. So I feel like we're due for something.
Yeah. So I don't know what I'll be doing on the 24th of December this year, but I'll probably have my laptop close by, because
I will too.
I don't know. He seems festive, I guess. I don't know what it is with Jerry. But yeah, no, and I mean, in the meantime, I'll say for those watching, it's like, oh, if they don't have anything to talk about, what are they gonna do? We have different thoughts of things we can talk about. You know, I know Britt mentioned the backup catcher position and what that may look like. That's certainly something. You know, so much. And one of my first thoughts of when I was gonna propose this idea to Britt was, the Mariners are looking at every other infield position but shortstop.
Yeah.
What does JP Crawford's 2025 look like? What's a successful 2025 look like for JP Crawford? So on and so forth. So we'll look into that. We'll do more with this, but I hope you've been enjoying it. It's been nice to talk about Mariners baseball, since there's been not much of anything. We're in the off season here. So see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Be I almost said whatever. I mean, you can be whatever you want. And do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, how about those M's?
Oh, I'm excited.
I know. Where are you going to watch all those away games, though?
Away games? Huh. I was thinking of coming here since, after all, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports.
I love that idea. Hope to see y'all here.
Hello there, everybody. Charles Hamaker here with Circling Seattle Sports. I'm joined by Jen Barnes of Rough and Tumble that we happen to be at right now.
Yeah.
Jen, why don't you talk to me a little bit about what we're announcing today, which is our partnership.
I'm so excited about this. First of all, I just want to say thank you. I think all of us here at Rough and Tumble are big fans of what you and your team at Circling Seattle Sports does. And so, I know you know this, but when you came to me with this idea, it just seemed pretty natural. And it's not just me. I think a lot of people in the sports community in Seattle also really respect you and your team. So it's exciting to kind of see these two things melding together, and we're really excited to start implementing some of the things and then hopefully seeing you guys a little bit more often.
Yeah, and so with what Jen says about seeing us more often, we've got a few things in the works, but you'll see watch parties here. We'd like to do a few different of our community drives, which you'll hear about here in a little bit. From now, we've got to make our announcements one at a time. I can't drop everything.
Not everything
right.
all at once.
But this has been a home for a lot of our team, whether it's myself, our friend, our photographer Liz is behind the camera. Liz is here often, so our team has kind of adopted this place kind of like our own since I saw you at our soft launch. So, it's been great to have that support. And in a lot of ways, and part of the reason I wanted to do this was the Rough and Tumble embodies a lot of what Circling Seattle Sports wants to do. Obviously with women's sports, with the storm and the rain, but just being, having the game on, every game on.
Yep.
How much of that, did you see a line kind of even before this idea was mentioned when I first met you?
I think it's always felt like that. I mean, you and your team were here on opening night, and you just feel like you're part of the space, so it felt like really natural. And the fact that you actually cover all the sports really makes your group stand out. So you are always covering all the rain games, all the storm games. UW women's softball, UW women's basketball, UW women's hockey. We love it. So all of those things, and obviously passionate M's fans, passionate Hawks fans, and passionate Kraken and Sounders fans. So really, from our perspective, those two things meshed really well.
So, I mean, you heard it from Jen herself, but this will be our home for all of these events, whether it's you can't make it to these games at home, we're always going to direct you to Rough and Tumble, and obviously the games on the road as well. All these, I mean, we're talking about the Reign, they've got their schedule out finally,
Yeah, yep.
but this will be our home for that.
Great.
The Storm games on the road, this is our home
Yeah,
for all intents and purposes.
I love it.
And when I mentioned it to Jen, when I first had this idea come up, I had this idea come up wearing a pink wig
Yes, you did.
ahead of Megan Rapinoe's final regular season home game for the Reign this past year.
Yeah.
I told her it's because I wanted this to feel genuine.
Yep.
I wanted a connection to feel genuine, and it does. So
Yeah.
that's what this is. Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, and I'm so excited to finally announce this partnership.
I can't wait.